Welcome to Rappler Talk. I'm Ezra Faraz. I'm joined here today by Gwen Foster, a games producer from Quickfire Games as well as the co-founder of Let's Play Manila. So most people don't associate the Philippines with video game making. Why should the average Filipino get excited about local video games?
I think there's a huge disconnect with what's really happening here in the Philippines. During the animation industry, Hanna-Barbera actually set up their studio here, and it's the same thing that's happening with the games industry. We actually have a lot of outsourced projects on big games that a lot of people do play that are being made here, and not everyone would know that. The international scene is actually looking at Southeast Asia, and now we're in a good place because one of our strengths is that we actually speak English really well compared to our other Southeast Asian counterparts. So that's one thing that people should look into, especially now that computer science, a lot of people are taking computer science, and it's one of the options or the route that people should take when they want to find a job or they want to do something that they want.
Why else is the international scene looking to the Philippines as a destination for video games?
We're very well versed in both Eastern and Western styles. So, like I said, since there is that communication line established already, and now that we also have that foundation in terms of like Japanese or Chinese art styles and then Western and European art styles, that's a good thing to market overseas. You could see that there's a very alive culture of otakus, animes, mangas, and then you have this other group of people who are very well versed in like European games, art games, and then comic books and Hollywood films who play like AAA games or have a good understanding of like NBA and FIFA, that the Philippines is a very good market and is a very good place to look for game creators and great game makers.
How does familiarity with these different cultures actually help in terms of game development?
The thing is that if you want to be a game developer, first you have to play games. Recently, the Nintendo CEO, Mr. Iwata-san, just died, and he said this really good quote that, in my business card, I am, a video game owner or a video game manager, but in my mind, I'm a video game developer, but in my heart, I'm a gamer. And the thing with games is that you really can't fake it. Like, you really have to want what you're doing, or you really have to love what you're making, because that would resonate in the work that you do. And that's something that you see this really passionate approach with games already, that what if you make that we're not consumers but we're actually content creators, and that's something that I think the Philippines should look into.
In which Filipino games do you really feel this sense of passion that the person who made it is truly a gamer?
One of the really good games that's out is that what got released was Anito, which was way back, like almost a decade ago, and it was made by one of the first Filipino game studios, Anino, which recently got acquired by Pocket Playlab. The thing about them is that they really did it like the whole indie way. They had a house, they made it, and then they sent it to IGF, and it's one of the games that's still it's one of the few Filipino games that's there in the Hall of Fame, and IGF is the most, to me, prestigious game award that's currently existing. So I think that's one of those. Another would be Eric Garibla's Street Food Tycoon, which everyone loves street food, like kwek-kwek, diba? Parang lahat naman ng tao kumakain ng kwek-kwek or ng fishball and stuff. Tapos it's something that you thought would only appeal to us. But honestly, the Chinese market is now looking into getting a localized version of it, and they want Eric to make one because they also love street food. So those are the games that you know that the guys who made them really loved the game and put so much heart into it. Another one would be Run Run Super V, which is made by Altitude Games. And these guys are the veterans of the industry. They've almost had 10 years of experience, and now they finally have this like Voltes 5V inspired endless runner that has boss fights. And then when you play the game, you know that they really put their heart and soul into it, and they've taken a risk making these games.
What will it take to produce more classic video games like those you mentioned?
I think first, if you really want to get into the game industry, you have to understand that playing games is very different from making games. And that's what we want to do with Let's Play Manila. We want people to play the games, but at the same time look into it at a critical perspective that how do these games get made? One of the funny things is that people often look down at casual games, but the algorithms behind it, like a match 3 game, is a very complicated game to make. When you compare it to Halo or like to Mass Effects, like sure you have fancy graphics and you have like this whole team doing everything, but when it comes down to concept, it's very content heavy and it's branching. When you actually read the script, it's very linear, as opposed to a game that would need like genetic algorithm or something like Party Animals is a game that's being locally produced by Ryan Sumo, Marniel Estrada, and Tristan Angeles, and originally Julius Sebreros, and they're actually simulating the election process in the Philippines, and a lot of math is involved in that, and that's really hard to do. But then when you look at it, it looks cute, it looks simple, and something easy to pick up. But then the math behind it or the programming behind it is actually really hard.
Can you tell me more about Let's Play Manila? How do you get people to recognize the difference between playing games and making games? What is involved in this advocacy?
The thing about Let's Play Manila is that we have a gamer who has no idea. For our first try or for our first session, for our first meetup, we actually have a really established or our upcoming artist, Giona, who's going to play these games, and she has no clue how games are made. And then you sit her down with the game developer, and they'll just observe how users actually play the game or players play the game. And then when they get stuck, like, okay, this is actually a free-to-play model, and this is how it's made, so that when you actually look through it, you see the perspective of someone who has no idea how games are made. And that's actually the biggest struggles in game, is how do you make people care about your game when they could obviously do a lot of other things other than play your game. And we want to bridge that gap with the Philippine market, because the Philippines is a really good testing ground for ideas, because we have such a an understanding culture of what good games should be, and that's what we want to do with Let's Play Manila.
So with the video game scene in the Philippines, are they primarily making games for the Philippine market, for the Southeast Asian market, or for the international market?
We're sort of like Switzerland. We're both indie and corporate. And so the Philippines is actually a neutral ground. Like the good thing about the community or the industry right now is that everyone is helping each other out. And one of the people I would recognize is that Indigo Entertainment, James Law, actually supported one of his programmers, Carlo, to produce the game Pop, Puff, and Away. And this game got into Casual Connect and was actually nominated for Best Family Game just this May. And you have people like that who want you to create things. So now is a very good time, especially when people who own the businesses, when they know you're very sincere with what you want to do, and there's no hidden agenda involved, they would actually really support you with whatever you want to do. I'm privileged enough that my boss, Sharon, actually lets me do these things and lets me experiment and fail in the process, so that when the time comes and when the Philippines has made that one game that will forever put it in the map, people will look at Manila and it has a very vibrant, independent, and corporate game ecosystem.
What will it take to produce that one landmark game that gets the Philippines known as a haven for video games?
Honestly, there's no formula to do it. So you really have to make the game you want first and foremost. Because like I said, it really does resonate when you make a game and it just feels like work. That's why a lot of in the international scene, once it's just like IP that's set to you, most game developers get burned out and leave the industry because it's not the games that they want to make. Or when you look at America, people quit their jobs and then they make the games they want to play, and things like that, like Papers, Please, which was actually made by just one person, Lucas Pope, quit Sony and one of the Sony studios, and then he made this game which sold 500,000 copies just because he really wanted to do it. So people have to know what they want to play. They should be equipped with the knowledge, especially now there's no excuse. I remember paying for Unreal Engine and now it's free, and Unity 5 is also free, and you have CryEngine, you have GameMaker, everything is there already. But the thing is that content is king. So you have to really know what you want and then you go make it, and then just hope for the best.
Now you're in a really unique situation being a female in a predominantly male
Yes.
industry. So what is that like? What are the challenges of?
The funny thing about that is that the Philippines is probably the only place in the world where I've personally not experienced any discrimination. But the thing is that if you're a female game developer, you have to work twice as hard than your male counterpart, and before you actually get recognized for a job done. And I think it's society in general that's how it is. But the good thing about the Philippines is that a lot of the studios actually encourage female game developers, and I hope more females or more women in general would come into the industry and would try out programming, because originally programming was a job for women, and it takes a special type of discipline to be able to execute things. And while the normal route would be to be a game artist, I think you really have to understand the inner works of how games are made so that you could really thrive in the industry.
What is your vision for video games in the Philippines, say 5 years, 10 years down the line?
5 years, 10 years, I hope we have that one game that really makes a difference. And I hope there are more game developers in general. I really like the industry because, well, not everyone just wants to make their game. So if you come in and then if you tell your idea to someone, they're not gonna steal your game. So those are very rare instances. And the good thing about this is that they actually offer a helping hand, and they will help you make the game. Like, they will, once you really know what you want and once they see that you're very sincere and passionate with what you want, and you ask the right questions with the right people, they will open every opportunity for you. So that's really good, and people should start utilizing that.
Thank you for joining us today, Gwen. I've been speaking with Gwen Foster, a games producer from Quickfire Games, as well as the co-founder of Let's Play Manila. I'm Ezra Faraz, and thank you for joining Rappler Talk.